1633 AD. The air is thick with fear and tension in the streets of Rome. Rumours of a monumental trial have spread far and wide. Galileo Galilei, the great mind who dared to challenge the heavens, is on trial for heresy. His teachings of a heliocentric universe had shocked the religious and academic worlds, and now the Church was prepared to put him in his place. I, a scholar of moderate renown, had never been one for controversy, but Galileo's theories had fascinated me. And so, when I heard he was to stand trial, I knew I had to witness it for myself. I was not one of Galileo's students. In fact, I was just a modest scholar, intrigued by his bold ideas. Unlike the others, I hadn't invested years in astronomical studies, but something about Galileo's certainty that the Earth moved struck a chord within me. My studies were limited to philosophy, but I began to feel that Galileo's truth was part of something much larger. His trial was more than just a court case. It was a battle between knowledge and tradition. Rumours swirled in the air. Galileo was about to stand before the Roman Inquisition. There was a part of me that feared attending the trial, as others warned me to stay away. Stay within the bounds of accepted knowledge, they said. But I couldn't. I wanted to see for myself how a man, one of the greatest minds of our age, would face the mighty Church. I desired to hear his defense, his reasoning, and what could happen when someone like him stood against the established truth. Entering the courtroom, the atmosphere was thick with anticipation. The tribunal, composed of the most devout men of the Church, stared down from their thrones, ready to judge Galileo. The grand hall echoed with murmurs of skepticism and fear. I sat among fellow scholars and nobles, not daring to speak. We were all there for the same reason, to witness history. I felt out of place among the giants of the academic world, but my desire to understand the truth kept me firm in my seat. When Galileo finally stood before the judges, his presence alone silenced the room. He spoke calmly, not as a man defeated, but as one who knew the truth could not be silenced forever. The Earth, he said, moves around the sun, not the other way around. His words were not just scientific, they were revolutionary. I saw the expressions of the churchmen harden, but Galileo's voice remained steady. His ideas, even in the face of such powerful opposition, felt like a beacon of reason in a world of superstition. As the trial progressed, it became clear that Galileo was not going to back down easily. He presented evidence and refuted arguments with skill, almost winning over several doubters in the room. For a moment it seemed that knowledge might triumph over fear. I sat there, my heart pounding. I had come to hear the truth, and I felt it surge through the room with every word Galileo uttered. But then the inevitable happened. The Church could not allow its authority to be questioned. Despite Galileo's brilliant defense, the Inquisition's verdict was swift and harsh. He was condemned, forced to recant his findings publicly. It was in that moment, as Galileo uttered his famous line, "And yet it moves," that I realized the cost of truth. Even a man like Galileo had to bow before the might of tradition, for now. Leaving the courtroom, I felt conflicted. On the one hand, Galileo's ideas had awakened something inside me, an unquenchable thirst for knowledge. But on the other hand, I knew that openly supporting such ideas could ruin me. Back among my fellow scholars, many of them now feared even discussing Galileo. I returned to my quiet studies, but something had changed within me. As I resumed my life, I found it impossible to ignore what I had witnessed. The trial of Galileo wasn't just a conflict between a man and the Church. It was a symbol of the struggle between enlightenment and ignorance. I started secretly reading more of Galileo's works, and though I couldn't discuss them openly, I knew that my way of seeing the world had changed. The truth had been whispered in the halls of Rome that day, and though it was crushed temporarily, it would rise again. The trial's ripple effect was undeniable. Scholars like myself began questioning the teachings we had once accepted as fact. While fear kept many of us from voicing our doubts openly, the seeds of change had been planted. Even common folk started talking about the stars and the movement of planets, emboldened by Galileo's legacy. Years later, I look back on that trial as the turning point in my life. Galileo, though forced to recant, had sparked a quiet revolution. The truth may have been suppressed, but it continued to burn brightly in the hearts of those who had heard it. And here I am now, a mere scholar, living proof that knowledge once revealed cannot be silenced.